I think the underlying concept behind happiness is so both of them need to be even successful at the, like, a lot of people lose their, or don't even, they get to the point like these are two people that have gotten everything that they wanted, right? But they're realizing that there's still something missing, right? So this guy, he lost his mom, and that's apparent, right? But with him losing his mother, again, as far as business, as far as like success, as far as all that kind of shit, he's already had that, right? But there was a void, like, let's say that his mother was filling, and it was almost sort of impeding on everything else that he needed for himself, right? So the depression actually came from, he's blaming it on the relationship, right? But what it really was the fact that he lost his mom. So that staple, that piece that has always been there that kept him afloat, whether he was off or on. Let's say that he sabotaged his own relationship because of that, right? So it took him, again, running away. Like, let's say that this guy's a runner, right? He always runs. Every time something gets tough, or like whatever the fuck, every time mommy can't bail him out of something, he runs. But his mother passes, right? And it's just like, let's say that he's still on the pinnacle, and he just feels like something is missing, right? What it was is that he's been protected. He's been, nobody can talk to him because, oh, this is, right? Nobody can talk to him a certain way or speak a certain way around him because this is like whatever, like, right? Like whatever his mom's name is, son, right? You can't talk, like, it's almost like, if you look at Jaden Smith, right? Like, well, that's a bad example. If you look at as like like a respected celebrity's kid, even in those developmental periods where it's just like this person needs to hear this kind of harshness to even start to mold any resemblance of a character. He's never had that, right? That was supposed to come from someone that has been sheltering him his entire life, right? So let's say when he lost his mom, now it's kind of a new space. Again, he does again what he always did, and maybe the twist. You know what the twist should be? Maybe the twist. Maybe the twist at the end needs to be that, let's say that the house guest and his mom already had a conversation when they were at the airport. Like, let's say like 5-10 years ago, and she was saying to him, right? Oh yeah, my son, I don't know how to da 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 da, and the same type of advice that this same character that never had an up, right? That never had an opportunity, right? Like, this person just needs the opportunity, but let's say they're the wrong side of the tracks. The twist of this entire film can be the fact that this person had already had this sort of like, this person already knows about her son without even knowing about him, because just by chance she met his mom at the airport 5-10, like whatever years ago, and had a conversation about it. And then by chance she was staying in the Airbnb when he came, thinking that it was vacant. So it's almost like the universe again is nudging. I don't know how that can be, that could be dialogue, that could be, right, a scene, like whatever, like a sequence, but I'm thinking that the underlining thing is the failure to launch stage, and they made the failure to launch movie with Matthew McConaughey. It's an entire dynamic, right? But it's about being called out on your shit. It's about blunt truth amongst fuck your feelings, fuck etiquette. Like, sometimes you need to hear something in the most rawest form. In the rawest form that you hear it, sometimes it's designed to get your attention. If you're somebody that's always catered to, if you're always pampered because you have the money for, like, whatever the fuck, like the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, doesn't give a fuck about that. It doesn't give, like, you're if you need to change, if you need to hear a message as bluntly as possible, it's going to find its way to you, right? I think that the twist needs to be that she had already had this conversation with his mom, and then by chance it just so happened that she was staying at his property that wasn't even supposed to be an Airbnb. He did not authorize this place to be an Airbnb, but this is like the universe, right? Like, maybe the property manager was like, yeah, I knew that you were coming down, and I sent you this, right, like, stripper girl because you just need to get laid. But it turns out that fuck getting laid, their like the strength of their dynamic was so like they were supposed to meet each other even on the guise that he thinks that he's just throwing his boy another piece to get him back on track. But what got him back on track was the fact that he needed to meet this person anyway. So it's not necessarily about like getting ass and like snap out of it and keep it. It's like no, they actually formed a deep bond, which like changed him and got him back on track, right? That snapped him out of his funk just because she was raw, right? I'm picturing like a Tiana Taylor, right? Like maybe like a shit. I'm picturing like a Tiana Taylor, right? Somebody that's raw, right? That whole like let's say that she's from like New York type shit, and there's so much of a culture clash, but there's so much of an authentic dynamic because he's not afraid of her, she's not afraid of him on the surface. And at the same time you think that it's a romantic comedy, like this is a romantic story. It's not. They talk about the spark, like they had a spark when it's like sometimes that spark is not sexual. Sometimes that spark is like, hey, the universe is giving this person to you because this is an agent for change. And the thing is, when you're in a type of like position where you get what you want all the time and you can literally like categorize the people that you meet by when you want to meet them, sometimes life still doesn't happen and you get everything that you want. That's why these multimillionaires are still unhappy, because they are like manipulating the laws of the universe. Like the universe is trying to give you what you need to change to be a lot happier than you are. But if you have the money to dodge life lessons that you don't want to learn just because you don't want to fucking learn them, right? The underlying concept with this is that they were supposed to meet anyway, and it can only be emboldened or like highlighted, like whatever you want to call it, because she by chance met his mother first 5 years ago, 10 years ago, before she passed type shit. And maybe she even shares some words that his mom, like let's say that they were at the airport bar getting drunk and she was talking about her son, how it's like, yo, his dad this, his dad that, I had to be dad and mom, but I fell short, right? I'm trying to teach him all this man shit when I'm a mom, and at the same time remain his mom. Like, I'm a good mom, however I still had to play the man role. I didn't teach him shit because I'm not a man, right? I'm not his dad, right? Let's say that all that kind of drunken shit, and they liked each other and they moved on, right? She caught her flight, she caught her flight. But for some reason, she shared that with this person that was sitting next to her at the airport bar, not even knowing that one day after she passes, she was going to book the Airbnb that he owned, that he doesn't run an Airbnb. This was done behind his back, right? So when he goes down to Florida, she's there. And again, she's an agent for change. Everything says like, oh yeah, you can smash this girl like that. Like, let's say that they get too drunk and they just, right? But they like the same movie and they fell asleep watching the same movie, right? Like that's night one. Like everything is working against them for them trying to do what they want to do because they're not doing what they're supposed to do. That's what this entire this is like fucking Two Night Stand. This is like Nights in Rodanthe. It's one of those seemingly romantic movies where it's just like, oh, he goes in, he meets somebody that's supposed, no, he meets the type of chick that can talk sense into the type of guy that he is. Like what your dad can't do, what your mom can't do. It's just like, this is the type of chick that can talk sense into you. And it's just like, it's not, they don't end up together. They realize that you meet people in this life for a reason, whether you're supposed to be with them or not. I think the problem is we think with our dick, we think with our puss. So it's like, oh, there's that spark. Like that spark is not always sexual. That spark when you see somebody is not always sexual. It's not always like romantic. It's like, hey, what you're going through right now, this motherfucker is the antidote, right? But when they're forced into a situation like that, it's almost like misdirection, right? I almost want this to seem like it's a romantic comedy, but it's not, right? I mean, it kind of is, but it's the girl in the life that he's running from. He met somebody. It's just like, yo, like, listen, like, I already know, like, nobody's ever talked to you this way just because you've been sheltered and you've been special your entire life. Now your mom is dead, and you don't understand the concept of legacy. It's like your mind is everywhere else, not like fulfilling what you're supposed to be doing as a man, right? Like, let's say to take like the company forward, like the family name forward, it doesn't, right? But it's not. It's about two people that literally were designed to change each other in the right way, and it's almost like a it's almost an expression of why that spark is not always sexual. It's just like that spark means that the universe is trying to nudge to you that this person is supposed to be in your life. The problem is we fuck it up because we assume that it's some fucking like Nicholas Sparks fucking romantic comedy shit. It's just like fuck all that knight in shining armor. There are certain people that are put in your life to change you for the better, just by experiencing them, just by knowing them. The problem is you fuck them and it's just like, all right, like, right, like you served your purpose type shit, but it's just like stupid. It wasn't about that, right? So the underlining concept is like between these two and why they're trapped and why nothing works romantically between them. They soon figure out it's like because that's not what the fuck this is about. It's almost addressing where we are in society, right? It's just like not every fucking spark is something romantic. Maybe whatever the fuck you're going through or like whatever like door you need to be open, right? Like there's people that want an up in their like career or like whatever the fuck, and when they go to the bar, this person that's unappealing to you sexually that wants to talk to you, you're like, oh nah, you're da 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 da. You shut them out and you move on. It's like, hey, stupid, he doesn't want to fuck you. Have a conversation with him, be like, oh shit, you're in this field. Oh shit, oh hey, you're actually impressive. Hey, you should meet my guy that works in your same fucking field, right? That's the whole concept is around the utilization almost of people that we get twisted all the time just because we are so fundamentally inept to how the spark concept works. So it's almost anti-romantic comedy. Like I wanted to still have that romantic comedy feel, but it's almost like it's anti-romantic comedy. It's just like, hey, this new chick that you met after this new chick that you met after you breaking up with your old chick is not the rebound girl. It's the girl to say, yo, what the fuck are you doing? You're stupid. If you just recalibrate everything that you're thinking, you'll realize that you're the one that's fucking up here. Especially when you've been born with everything. Yeah, your mom died, cool, like get that straight. But with this like particular story, it's like you're the problem here. So you trying to like the concept of move on, like forget and move on, doesn't necessarily apply to you because you're the one that's fucking up. Just by how you're looking at it, just because you're in a space that you've never experienced before. I think if you just going with that, and again, we're talking about like less than 10 people with the cast, maybe 1 or 2, 3 locations for a feature film. I think that's what the backbone of happiness is. And then I was thinking Miles Teller. I mean, Jack. There's so many Grant Gustin. I mean, there's so many Lucas Till. Right? There's so many. The mold can be sort of adjusted later, but as far as the basic premise, like the part of the pitch deck, that's why this movie. So if we're talking about why this movie, I want to explain that sometimes the spark is not the universe saying, oh, this is your soulmate, oh, fuck this person. It's just like, no, sometimes the universe is screaming at you that this person is literally designed for this phase of your life. The problem is the culture has conditioned you to think that every time that you see that spark, it means something romantic. It's not all about soulmates all the time. Maybe it's about people that you're supposed to meet that can take you to the next phase of whatever you're right. If you're stuck, it's because you haven't met the right person. And if that right person happens to look good, then we think that that spark is something sexual, right? That's the underlining theme of this entire film. And I think that that needs to be the entire, like, the theme and the like the tone needs to be like around that. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking Miles Teller and Tiana Taylor. Just if you want to cross fucking genres, I mean, not necessarily genre, if you want to cross cultures, right? I'm thinking like a Miles Teller, like, let's say that I don't want to be too cliche, but let's say Tiana Taylor is a stripper, right? And then with her meeting him and saying, and then on the, so that's what she shows him. What he shows her is just like, yo, like, listen, you're a victim of your culture. You think that this is what you have to do, what you have to be, just because this is all that your culture is telling you. Oh, you're a stripper. Oh, you're an OnlyFans chick. It's just like, if you step outside of that, like, naturally your mind outside of the fuck shit that you've been inhaling, the fucking Kool-Aid that you've been drinking your entire life, you actually have an analytical mind. If you train that for something fucking constructive, right? And maybe that could be like the that could be the conflict of how, when he expresses that, it's like, oh, you don't know nothing about my culture, you don't know this, you don't know that, and then she storms out, they have their falling out. But again, I think that this needs to be one of those things. It's on, what the fuck am I thinking of? It's almost like, I don't want, so at the end of this, I want him calling her, thanking her for snapping him out of his bullshit and allowing him to see the position that he's in and embracing it instead of complaining. And on her end, let's say that he opens the door for her, like, just because it's just like I can you have somebody on a high level that can vouch for you. I'm already sending you to my angel investor boy, where this is just a formality. He's giving you the money for your business, or right, like, whatever the fuck. But I had to see who you were before I could even do that. And that's the underlining theme for even her storyline. It's like, listen, who the culture says that you have to be, that's not who you have to be, especially when your culture is designed for you to come off in a way that nobody's going to want to lend a hand to you. Nobody's going to want to fuck with you, because they already know everything to think about you because of the way you come off. She's not that way, but she comes off that way because she was raised by the culture. But he, in a high level, right, like, position, got to know her, and it's just like, yo, you're not this. Even if you've been this in your entire life, this isn't who you are, and I can see that. I can trust you because you helped me with my personal shit. I can lend you a hand and introduce you to somebody that can fund, or, right, like, whatever, take you to the next phase. That's the underlining theme of this entire movie. And what I want the ending to be is, I want him to come home, like, the final battle. He comes home, like, no matter where his girlfriend is, he's like, yo, like, listen, he explains where he fucked up, his mind, right, been, like, renewed, or, like, whatever the fuck. He's like, right, marry me. And she's just like, what took you so long, you idiot, type shit. Fast forward to when they, right, like, the wedding day, she's getting married. Tiana Taylor's character, like, if it's Tiana Taylor, like, say Tiana Taylor's character is off. She's at the wedding, but she's off in her own corner, and she's talking to her, like, she already has her like, business, like, set up and is thriving, but she's at the wedding right now. She's just like, right, she's going back and forth with, right, like, whatever, like, business shit. She hangs up because Miles Teller's character's wife thanks him again for fixing this motherfucker, right? Like, that feel-good, heartwarming, kind of almost Alex, like, Hitch, like the end of Hitch kind of movie shit is. It's just like, none of us, like, the underlying thing is, if they didn't have the experience that they had that weekend at the Airbnb, none of them would be there. So she fixed him, he fixed her, and they're both, like, the better for it, right? That's the pitch. That's, like, the elevator pitch for happiness is.